I'm going to pause the recording until we actually get started, unless you're ready to get started now, sir. Now.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you all for joining us here today. We are starting a meeting tonight to talk about a property, which is 800 Southern Avenue, Southeast Washington, D.C., also known as Park Southern. Um, the property has been in the ward since I was born. I know it has its number of ups and downs. In my office, we receive calls all the time about properties that are dilapidated, falling apart, ceilings leaking, ceilings caving in, noise, rodents, you name it, we get it. And just for me, even before I was officially a council member, I've been in Park Southern numerous of times addressing citizens and residents' complaints. We had several meetings there, and even while in office, I remember we met with DHCD when Polly Donaldson was the director there. Now we have Drew Hubbard, and we met with a tenant association there. We've met with the resident association there at Park Southern, trying to address these issues. And the core of the issues is that the building is so old, doing normal repairs just won't work. And as a result, uh, we found ourselves historically going back and forth with the owners of the building trying to find a solution while the residents are suffering day to day and really living in inhabitable conditions. And so, one of the things we have in DC is called the Housing Production Trust Fund, which is money allocated in the DC budget. It's normally around $100 million a year. We've seen it over $100 million a few years, and it's been in existence for about 9 years. So you can calculate it's about $1 billion that's supposed to be spent for preserving, restoring affordable housing in the district. We've watched and sort of audit from our auditor Kathy Patterson to hear and see that the money wasn't always used for its intended purposes. Meaning, originally 40% of the money was supposed to be used for uh, residents earning between 0 to 30% of what was the AMI. Now the MFI, with the MFI, the last I looked was $121,000 a year, which is a regional number that DC used to address affordable housing. So 0 to 30% of that number, the money was supposed to 40% of that money is supposed to use for that. Then you have another 40% that's supposed to be for 31 to 50% AMI. Then it got moved to 60. I rewrote the law, and Councilmember Anita Bond supported it to bring in to retrofit the number to put more money into deep level affordable housing. Because when we talk about affordable housing in DC, you can earn $120,000 a year and still qualify for affordable housing, which is sometimes that's 90% or 80% of AMI. And so we have been focused on that, and we just got out of hearing actually with the city administrator uh, today, Donahue, and also the chief financial officer of the district, trying to figure out how we have almost a 500, $600 million surplus again this year after a pandemic, but we still see our residents in a housing crisis. Today, along with representatives from DHCD, actually the director Hubbard was there today. Uh, we've been there also with DCRA. I see Mr. Diallo here. He's been to the property with us before. Um, Representatives from Anita Bond's office, the, the the tenant association was there. The property, the persons who's doing the property, investor, their representatives was there. I know the DC office of the Attorney General Carl Racine's office has been intricately involved, in which they represent on this Zoom today. So today we will hear from some of the government agencies, some of the tenant associations to figure out and hear what their concerns are. Wanda, if you can elevate Pastor Joy Scott and also Miss Anita Horn, who is the Tenant Association president and also the resident council president, because I want to hear from them before we go to the representatives from the government.
Council member, I have Pastor Scott on. She says she's here, but we can't see her.
Okay, can
What
we
are
hear?
you signed, where are you signed at under? I don't see George Scott. Are you AM's guest? I'm going to. Okay, Ms. Horn is not here yet. So Pastor, I'm gonna see if I can bring you in now. I'm hoping this is you, so. Can you tell me who AM guest is? Okay, council member, we're just not sure. I don't see her. She says
Okay.
she's here, but I don't see her in the attendees.
So she's saying she's there, so you can see where she's saying it from. So she'll be connected to a name. I see Miss Horn said she's here.
Miss Horn, oh, I see Miss Horn. Let me bring her in.
See Rom.
Miss Horn, you are now able to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you
ma'am.
hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I want to thank you for coming out today. Like I told you earlier, we have been waiting for this for a long time. So I just want to say thank you. And the issues you can see are real, real issues. Like I told you, if I didn't live here, I wouldn't believe that. And what I really wanted to address was that vent, that vent that I took off of from the bathroom. And I heard Miss Whitfield and Miss Ledbetter says, oh, that's the airflow. Actually, there is no airflow. That's just been sitting there since when I left out of the unit before it was renovated. Can you hear?
Yeah, can you give us some historical context of your involvement? When did you join the tenant association?
Okay, the tenant association was started in November because we could not get any response from Vesta, any of the offices that I've been reaching out to. So before being the president of the tenant association, I was on the resident council. Like, was that 2016, something like that, 14, 16. So yeah, this has been going back for a while. We've been dealing with these issues for a long while now. And my immediate concern is this so-called renovated unit. When I come back and there's nothing, it's like everything is falling apart, everything is downgraded. And my major concern is the vent with all of that dust, asbestos, or whatever that is, and mice. I cannot live in here with mice. How do mice get into a renovated unit? I have been sending complaints for years, so they are familiar with me when I call down DCRA. But I just don't understand how we're expected to be okay with this situation. We've been moved out, moved back in, and still have the same issues, if not worse. What is the resolve? I mean, how do we get a resolve?
Thank you. Anything else you want to add, Ms. Horn? Because and also I do know that there was a tenant association prior to you.
Oh, okay.
And a couple of other organizations over the past couple of years. I've been in office for 5 years, so I know it's been a few. And so I know we also joined by Pastor Joy Scott. Pastor Scott is involved with the resident association. And forgive me if I don't know
the current, yeah, it's just the current concern. See, we started out of the concerned residents. And
Okay.
so some of us Like I said, we formed the tenant association, so we have like 36 members or so that actually signed that membership. But actually, we are working together. We don't have a choice.
Thank you. So, Wanda, have we elevated Pastor Scott? For those just joining, we are convening a community discussion around Park Southern, which is also known as 800 Southern Avenue, and we have these type of forums all the time. And sometimes we go through the community with DCRA, going door to door with OA, Office of the Attorney General, trying to figure out what are these issues in our community. I see you, Pastor Scott. And how can we address it from a government standpoint? A lot of times we got to lean on the mayor's office and the DC Office of Attorney General call Racine, because these properties, we're seeing the theme in these properties over and over again is becoming unlivable. And sometimes they play out on Facebook Live or on social media or on the news. And so I know we've been seeing it more and more over the last 2 to 3 years that we're just talking about Marbury Plaza last week. We just did a walkthrough in Congress Park. The week before that, we just had power outages and Stanton Glen, also in Wellington Park, and so which is still not renovated, in which we are waiting to hear back from them as well. So we're seeing this theme happening throughout the district. So this one way in which we get all the government partners that can address it on a Zoom to address it. So I digress to hear from you, Pastor Scott, because I know you've been there a few years. I won't say how many years, but you've been there a few years, and so you've been a part of it for a long time, and also served as the leader of the building in a previous role as well. So can you give us an idea what's happening and where are we?
Okay, I would like to first correct a couple of things. Is that the Residents Council, they are part owner with the owner Vesta. They owners. Okay, it's one of them is 49% and the other one is 51%. Vesta and the resident councils are part owners. Owners cannot represent the tenants nor speak for the tenants. So there had been no real voice for the tenants up until Ms. Horn and Ms. Rowe and a couple of others came together to form the Tenants Association, not the Residents Association, because you got to have an organization that represents the tenants, and that's what they are. I initiated and became an advocate for so many people coming to me, and not even just from Park Southern, but from other Vesta properties. I told them I got to get this going here first, and I'd be on over there to your other properties. But you know, it's I'm getting old. You know, I've been out here a long time. So and so that's where the resident council come from. I mean, the tenants association and the residents are part owner with Vesta. So that's it. That's ownership. Ownership does not represent, or management represent, the residents. The other organization, huh?
Can you speak to some of the issues in the building? I get the point about the ownership and residents, but what's happening with the building?
Well, I just wanted to correct it because you allowed her to speak with it. What's happening to the building is, as you were here today, you see with the owners or whatever, the management, the construction, first and foremost, I don't believe that we should be living here. None of us should be living here through what's going on. And that was a dialogue with Councilmember Anita Bonds back in early part of 14, in terms of getting vouchers to move the people out. And it was really based on the type of construction was going to happen, and that due to the hurricane, the tornado that came through here that rocked this building and it's cracked some of the way down. So knowing that it was going to be major construction, there was concern that this building actually stand under some of that. However, of course, I was out of the loop, and so there you got it. I don't know when the tables turned that the residents would not get a voucher, would not be moved out. So what we got going on now is you got massive noise. It was 6 days a week up until January, because residents complained so much that they stopped it on Saturday, but it goes from 8 to 5. 8 to 5, you got it outside, you got it inside, drilling in the walls, hammering. My grandson's therapist is preparing a letter because he's virtual learning from home, and he has a virtual therapist, and they look at him and tell him put on headphones. If you come in here, and I would like, and put on them headphones when they doing all of that, and we can play all of that for you, as well as other people who are working from home. Miss Horn works from home, and my grandson, to be tested, he had to leave out of here. Okay. Also, when they working over top of me, some kind of stuff is falling down on the top of my stove. Also, I'm in the holdover unit before we go back to 8. I think you were gone when Mr. Hubbard went to the floors where those new floors. And I hope you ever get a chance to come back by here and come see them new floors, Mr. Trayon, because they're coming up in the renovated units.
Yeah, I was on the 12th floor. Are you talking about
Did
the 12th?
you see it?
Yes, I
Yeah.
did.
In a unit where it was coming up in Miss Vicky's unit?
I went to the gentleman's unit. The guy that was walking with us.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But there's some units that the floors are coming up in the units, that rubber floor that you see. And in 1233, Miss senior citizen, 72 years old, Pastor Smith, had to be moved in and out 3 separate times to relay that same floor. And to me, that is good government money behind bad, and also inconvenience on her. Now, they give you $100 gift card, but why keep moving her back and forth and putting down the same floor? I had I don't know if you saw it today when I showed because the young lady couldn't let us in her unit because the children came down with COVID. But her floor is coming up, and you put your foot down on it, the water coming up from it. The floor is sinking in the living room. Her stove, I showed a picture of her stove when they put it in. The stove blew up, the fire department had to come. The ignition cut on by itself. It's a whole lot of contractual or the folks that's doing the work issues over here. And then the floors, you saw the 4th floor. The floors that the people are still living on that have not been renovated, starting in 2014, Vesta got buku money to keep these floors up and decent until the complete renovation was happening. None of that, what you're seeing today, none of that never ever happened. I went in took Mr. Hunter Hubbard into 1008, where in the woman's bathroom, when she says she takes very hot showers and the paint bubbled up, and when you take your hand and hit it to get the water out of it, the paint just slides down. He's seen all of that. Where the cabinets are sitting out from the walls. So it's a construction problem. It's a noise problem. One lady, Miss 507, senior citizen, but she's got early dementia, and she called me 4 or 5 times today. She thinks that the world is coming to the end. You hear that noise? You hear that noise? I can hear the noise. But you got retirees in here that can't rest. They start at 8 in the morning, Mr. Trayon. People in here, and what's so bad is they talk so nasty to you. They talk nasty to you. That's the only reason people start coming to me, because they talk nasty to them. Well, what you think? It's a building under construction. Okay, it's a building under construction. I have vertigo. I'm gonna have to get out of here. Because my doctor, he's presenting a thing, because the stress is, everybody is under stress. Nobody's happy in no kind of way. There is nothing for us here, and except for a bunch of ugliness and a bunch of loud noise. Also, the water pipes that keep busting and busting and busting. Okay, those are old pipes, sir, that got rust. They mend them pipes back, but nobody never checks to find out if that water is tainted. We need that water tested. You know what they've told us? They've told us to check the water ourselves. But the pipes, and you've seen where pipes are busting, that when you see that water and stuff. So you know that there's a hang up with that. And so what is going on with the water? And so we've been bathing in it. I used to cook with it, but I'm stopped cooking with it. But something's going on with that water. But to tell us that, no, whose responsibility is? And I'd like for you to find out from DCRA, because the manager told me herself yesterday that no, it is, another lady asked me that it's the individual residents' obligation to get the water tested. But it is the construction that is causing all of these great big water leaks and water pipes bursting, and they patch them back together without testing the water. One night, a couple of times, the fire department had to come out here. The daggone leaks was so big, which also panicked a lot of tenants, because you couldn't get the people off of the, another problem is, a big problem is people in wheelchairs, canes, walkers, up on floors above getting out. There is no evacuation plan. I put that in your folder there, your file. There's no evacuation plan. So you, if you have questions.
Thank you. And also real quick, There was a number of meetings between the residents and investor prior to selecting them to be the developer or the partner in the co-op. What was the agreement about building in place? Because I see now they're building while you are there. I'm getting calls about the walls is cracking and water
Yes.
in. And I'm trying to figure out what was the agreement between the tenants, DHCD, investor, while they're doing construction while you are still there instead of moving out. Because I'm hearing two different stories.
Well, Vesta had initially not been picked for the developer. It was another project, a developer, but somehow they got into the forefront. But there were very few people that were a part of that. Many of our TOPA rights were violated, and Johnny Bonds actually wrote a letter to DHCD complaining about that. But because Milton Bailey wanted Vesta himself, and he said it because he'd been knowing them for 25 years, then and he was there, DHCD at the time. And so they're the ones that ended up getting it. I have the letters on Johnny Bonds, attorney Johnny Bonds letterhead, okay, going at them about the peoples whose TOPA rights were violated here that did not go along with it, but it went down anyway. Many of them. It was more than them than, you know.
All right, thank you.
And actually, they didn't even respond.
Got it. I do want to acknowledge that we have representatives from DHCD here today. Also, DCRA, DC Office of the Attorney General, Office of Councilmember Nita Bond's office. Who else we got? Office of the Tenant Advocate. And so we want to start with Mr. Diallo. If you can introduce yourself real quick. From DCRA, you've walked a lot of these grounds with myself and other representatives, trying to hear from tenants and residents about the ongoing issues with these properties. I see someone just said that Stanton Glen has also been a problem property, and I'm seeing Ms. Starr in the comments who mentioned that the water is off every other week. They did them with mold, and they were supposed to have been moved out. So Ms. Diallo, if you can give us an update or where we are with this property.
Yes, good evening, council member, staff, as well as community members. I will concur with the council member. We have gotten many complaints about Park Southern at Southern Avenue, and we have acquiesced and gone and inspected those complaints that we've gotten. We continue to monitor the situation and try to prompt those violations that we do find. We will send to the property manager and owners to fix. Oftentimes, as we know, in this democratic society, the property manager owners will go to appeal our fines and go to Office of Administrative Hearing and get those fines either lessened or sometimes maybe even thrown out. But we continue to work with the system that we're given and try to do inspections and enforcements as best as we can.
While they're doing renovations now, how does that work with DCRA hearing from residents while they're doing renovations? How do you all work with the property construction team?
We ensure, by law and code, renovations or construction work cannot be done before 7 a.m. in the morning. If they start at 8, then they finish by 5. It cannot last after 7 p.m. and it cannot start before 7 a.m. And no construction work can be done on Sundays or holidays. So if they are working starting at 8, as I've heard people say, and ending at 5, then they are working within the law in terms of construction hours. However, we have gone by there to, based upon complaints about rodents, about trash, debris, and we have fined them and given them violations based upon not removing dust and debris in the past, and we will continue to do that and monitor that.
I know sometimes, you and I, we walked this property in 2017, I believe, and it's
Yes, sir.
2022. And
Yes,
so
sir.
then we had to get the DC Office Attorney General involved, and so I want the representatives for DC Office of the Attorney General introduce themselves. Lauren, and Ty Knight, if you are here, can you introduce yourself to the public?
And Councilman, before they start, I will also put in the chat a link for any resident that wants to get a DCRA inspection. They can do so by just tagging that link and filling out the form, and not even having to wait for myself or anybody at DCRA. They can do that from the comfort of their home. They can do that anytime, any hour, any day, night or day.
So I know that some of the pushback is that residents say, man, I got an inspection. DCRA has been here several times, but the issue is still ongoing. Can you explain why that is and what we can do to address that? I know I'm on the council, but I know there's some things we can do that's out of your control, but I know you got to hear that as well, as often as I hear it.
Well, sir, as I've said before, what DCRA does inspections and cites people for any violations. When we do that, the democratic process takes over, where those violations can be appealed. And as I said before, those appeals can be taken to OAH and sometimes lessened or completely dropped. The Office of Administrative Hearing, OAH, is a completely different agency that we have no control over.
Got you. Is anyone here from the DC Office of the Attorney General?
Councilmember, I do not see anyone from here. They said they will be on, but they also said that they met with the tenants on, I believe, on Tuesday. So they had all the information that they needed, but they were going to join tonight. I don't see them on.
Okay, and I did speak to someone from the Office of Attorney General yesterday as well, just to get an update on the property and where they were. And there's also some legal issues tied up in court as well. Is anyone here from DHCD? Is Ram or Aaron here? There she go.
Yes. Good evening, council member. I'm Erin Wilson from DHCD. As you stated, Interim Director Hubbard was on site today. So I'm here to listen, take notes, get all the information back to him, and debrief with him on the site visit from today.
Can you, Aram, explain to the public what is your role involving Park Southern? Because I know you all have been involved for at least 10 years or more. And what is your role as a government agency with this property or properties like this?
Sure. So as you mentioned, DHCD administers the Housing Production Trust Fund. And so our role with this property, it does go back quite a bit. There was a previous loan, and then most recently for the rehabilitation financing, there was a new loan made to the property. We are partners with a lot of other, excuse me?
How much was the new loan?
The new loan was $19.6 million.
Okay. And what was do you know what the agreement was in receiving this loan? What would they do with what would Vesta do with the tenants to renovate the building? What was the agreements?
So the development program, so I think someone already mentioned that the tenant association is part of the ownership structure. And the development program involves the DC Housing Finance Agency. It involves it involves HUD. There are a lot of various partners. There's a low-income housing tax credit investor partner. There's a lender partner. So all of those entities vetted the development program.
Got you. Ron, would you like to add anything to that?
No, council member. I'm representing Anita Bonds, council member Bonds, from the Housing Committee side. Yes. And we do have oversight of the Department of Housing and Community Development. So, we're happy to convey any messages from any constituents of yours or your office that need, to get in touch with the department.
And can you explain to the public, Ron, what's the committee that Councilmember Bond chairs, for those who don't know?
Councilmember Bonds chairs the Committee on Housing and Executive Administration. And so we perform the oversight and approve the budgets for all of the housing agencies in the district. And that includes the Department of Housing and Community Development. And I also noticed that the Housing Finance Agency had some officials on site at the tour today. They have put up some of the low interest financing for the development project. So it is their job to make sure that the work is done, to all of the proper specifications. And they do have inspectors that go out there and inspect the work that is being performed. So, there are several different agencies that we can let people know to contact if they need to get issues, looked at the building.
Okay. Thank you, Wendy. I do want to note that there were complaints from residents today saying that the co-owners circumvented the TOPA process, which is a Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act. Do we know, anyone on the Zoom and the government know if that was followed correctly or not? Okay, I'm assuming not. So we'll look into that. I'll ask Attorney General Carl Racine or Monique Cobb as well, the Assistant Attorney General, about that. So what we want to do now is hear from residents. If you are on, if you can raise your hand. Wanda, can you see hands from where you are?
Yes, I can.
Okay, can you, I see we have 34 attendants. We have about 80 people through Instagram. I'm not sure how many are on Facebook, but we want to be able to, if we can, answer some of the questions or hear from some of the tenants that live there to figure out, to make sure they have a voice and make sure we're addressing it from a government perspective.
Councilmember, we have a question from Alicia. Alicia, you are able to speak now.
I'm sorry, I was trying to get a resident right now to get onto the meeting, because as I was walking into the building, just to tell them about the complaints. He's been here for 30 years. I've been here for 10 plus years. And as me being on the first floor, I've dealt with floods, mold. I had allergy issues, health concerns issues. They keep playing with us. Now to this day, I'm in the I moved to the second floor in 210, and they have what I mean by have doing their job, like they're not doing their job as they're supposed to. I had to be on top of it, and it's sad that you have to keep being on top of it and keep being on top of do it the right way. A prime example, my blinds had failed because it was improperly installed. They wanted to just put 2 clamps up there because it was improperly installed or whatever from the beginning. So as I pulled it open and close it, it failed. It failed. So I told them this. I had to keep putting in a ticket constantly over and over. They finally came in here and did it. I should have took a picture of what they did. I think I might have the picture because I'm always documenting everything that goes down in this building. They came in there and they put a rubber band and tied it up, a rubber band. And guess what happened again? It fell on my son again. And all they can say is, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. We're tired of the I'm sorry. Prime example, September the 1st, I had water damage. It was water leaking from the heater lamp. We have a heater lamp in our bathroom. No one could tell me where it came from. They like, oh, the building is under construction, a pipe burst. No, I didn't know I didn't know a pipe burst, but okay, what y'all gonna do about the water? They gonna send a fan in here. No, you can't send a fan in here. I have allergies, that's gonna blow. Y'all have to do y'all job the right way. Sending a fan telling me that you have to dry it first just to prolong you not doing your job as that's the supposedly have said and promised us at the end of the day. We're not getting it. And it's like a lot of residents is tired, overwhelmed of even coming to you guys because no one's doing anything about it. It's like y'all keep playing with us and we gotta live here and we suffer. We're tired of I'm sorry. another prime example, the security people, they keep verbally giving me verbally statements saying, oh, my car is good, after me verbally having a conversation with the rental office telling me my car is good. I get 7 parking tickets, $250, and my car towed $170. I'm a single mother of 3. And they still piled up. How do you expect me to pay that after verbally getting notice from the rental office? Yeah, I can, and all they say is, I'm sorry. And I've heard many residents say they got reimbursed by Nicole, but every time I go to her, she just stares me in the face like, I don't know what I'm talking about. You have properties, abandoned cars that was on the properties, but you and make an enforcement, but you got abandoned property vehicles of residents because people pick and choose who the favoritism, you know what I'm saying? Pick and choose who car to mess with, or pick and choose who to mess with, period, on this property. And it's just like, it's a whole lot more, and it's very frustrating. But I have residents right now in the hallway, and I don't know, maybe I don't know what can we do? You said you walked on this property a long time ago. You can see it's nothing getting done. I mean, if you think this is getting done, this not worth it. It's not. Yeah, I know we're gonna talk blue, but we gotta keep talking. That's just it. We gotta keep talking. We gotta stay here, so we gotta keep talking.
Thank you, Miss Alicia.
Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. You just want to vote. Call that man 100,000.
Well, he on here now. He on. All right, have a good one. I'm sorry.
Who else do we have in? Thank you, Miss Alicia. I appreciate your passion speaking for the residents who are unable to speak tonight or haven't got a chance to speak yet. And
it's not about haven't got a chance or speaking. It's just a matter of everyone's tired. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's why they pick and choose the strong ones to actually speak up, because they know I'm a strong one, but it's like we put too much time into this for us to get nothing done. So it's like, we're tired of speaking, and it's like, we got to live with it. We got to live with this because this is all we can afford right now. And it's sad, and it hurts us. You know what I'm saying? And we're tired of hearing, I'm sorry, or we're tired of the weight game. And it's like, all we could, yes, go ahead.
You know, they've been shuffling tenants around in the building as they do renovations. And I just heard.
They told me I have to be moved 3 times. 3 times. I'm not going to even see my first floor or a new unit for probably 2025. I have no idea.
Got it. All right, we're going to come back. Wanda, who else do we have?
I don't see any other hands up now. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand so we can recognize you.
Also, we have representatives from Vesta on the call. If you just want to speak on where you are with constructions, where you are remediating complaints, that would be helpful to us to try to figure out, you know, what's the progress being made on the property, because we're getting these calls. And I know you guys were there today as well when we did the walkthrough.
Councilmember, I believe there's a question or a comment from TL Clark. TL, you are able to speak.
I did raise my hand, but I have an emergency situation. I need to take this call.
Okay, we can certainly come back to you. I see another hand. Let's see, Vicky. Vicky, you are able to speak.
Hi, I'm in 1227. You all came through today, and I want to speak on the fact that my floor is coming up and it's getting worse and worse. They have no idea when they're going to fix it. They just keep evaluating it, but I'm not hearing anything.
Got it. Vesta is on the Zoom as well. Wanda, do we have anybody else before we hear from Vesta?
No. Oh, there's one hand that just went up. Charlene, you're able to. You're being promoted because you are not able to speak without being promoted. So please address and ask your question.
I'm sorry, I had to unmute. Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for coming out today. We greatly appreciate it. Once again, I'm gonna jump on my soapbox and say that our problem here is with the many issues that's going on. The original agreement was supposed to be done with the construction being done in tiers, so that we wouldn't be impacted so heavily with all the problems that we're facing now by them doing it floor by floor, which causes the flooding and everything else to trickle down. My concern is with the asbestos and it being properly abated. There were a lot of changes of things we seen being done over the last couple of weeks since ownership found out that we've been meeting with you guys. And so we've seen a change in those areas. One thing I wanted to speak on was the comment was brought up about the ownership structure and things of that nature. And the original agreement had a structure so that the Vesta Corporation will have 99.9% interest in the building, which kind of speaks to Pastor Scott's comment about the TOPA process. Would have a 99.9% interest, and the Vesta PSRC interest would be 0.01. And of that 0.01, Vesta would maintain the 51% interest, and the PSRC partnership with Vesta would, the PSRC partnership would have the 49% interest in the building. So 49 or 51% of 0.01% is still nothing. And they took the building right out from under us without saying anything. And we were in negotiations back in August. And at the time of the board meeting with Lauren Buckner, the attorney, the president at the time, Anita Horn, nor myself as acting vice president would sign the documents. So stepping out of line, Mr. Goen stepped in and signed it, and we informed him that he couldn't sign it. It was supposed to be signed by the president. We had numerous emails from Lauren Buckner requiring the president to sign documents, and that was not done at the time, at the end of the development agreement in August of 2016. And the last thing I want to bring up, like I said, was the asbestos and the ventilation. We went to Anita Horn's unit and saw the vent with all the debris in it. And we were told that this stuff is a product left over from when they suctioned the vent in 2017. And it's still, we're breathing that stuff. We don't know what's in it. And they're like, oh, well, that's what was left behind. So you just not clean it out. Miss Sarah, I don't know her name, her full name, says that they blocked it off, but it's supposed to be a ventilation shaft. There's no air coming through there, and whatever's coming through there is wafting through the units. And that's a concern because I have mold issues and things of that nature. When we were on the 7th floor and I asked what was being done to resolve the rotted wood, which also causes some of those mold spores and things that we saw in the hallway, and some people with the flood from the flooding, that rotted wood causes spores, and that has to be removed to remediate it, not just clean it. So I'd like to know what they're going to do to address that, or what's going to be done.
Thank you. And we're trying to hear from Vesta, but it seems that they are not speaking. That concerns me, to be on a call, hearing from residents. You got money from the government to serve, and yet no one is saying anything to give answer about these concerns. I was in the building today. I did see some floors under renovations, but we have to hear from you guys so you can tell us what work is being done, what level of completion is being done, what's the plan, because I've also requested a plan, because when you do construction of building, you are supposed to make sure certain safety precautions are taking place to move a population of people to this side while you do this side, or this floor while you do this floor. And I haven't seen that. And I heard I'm not sure if it was Sir or not, that told me that the plan did exist, but I haven't seen it and don't know how it's working throughout the building, because I do understand there was a senior who moved 3 different times while in the building. And so it disturbs me to be on a Zoom with the people that got money from government and they not speaking. And
Councilman Aaron has now raised his hand to speak.
Okay,
So let me Aaron, you have the floor. You are able to speak.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Thank you, council member, for giving me the opportunity to address some of these concerns. We have been in touch with DHCD and DCHFA, council member Bond's office and others over the last couple of weeks. We have been involved at 800 Southern Avenue since 2014. We were appointed by DHCD as manager of the building at that point. The prior owner and prior manager had let the building fall into a state of complete disrepair, and they had defaulted under their loan, and DHCD placed the property into receivership, and we were selected as the manager at that point, and we partnered with the residents, and we still partner with the residents. Park Southern Residents Council, as some people have mentioned, is a co-owner and developer partner in this project. And we have been working with them since day one to get this project funded. We applied 3 times for DHCD funding, and we were awarded funding on the 3rd try. And we've been working towards getting to a closing, which happened in June of 2020. Again, everyone was aware of the neglect that had occurred at this building prior to that time. This building was built in the 1960s and was in desperate need of renovations. So we embarked on this, again, when we partnered with the residents and up until 2020, getting this financing in place. This has been a very complex renovation. It is a 30 plus month renovation plan from starting in June of 2020. And despite the fact that we closed right at the start of COVID, we are on track to complete the renovations in or around March of next year. So there is a little bit more than a year left on this project. Our plans have been fully vetted by DHCD, DCHFA, HUD, and our other financing partners, and they were collaborated with. We've collaborated with the residents, Park Southern Residents Council. I speak with Miss Love, who is the president of Park Southern Residents Council. I speak with her almost on a daily basis. We have bi-weekly meetings with PSRC. Miss Love is involved and joins weekly construction calls. We are working from the top down. There are 12 floors to this building. We started on the 12th floor and we went floor by floor. That is the safest and most efficient way to do construction, because we can take an entire floor and seal it off so that residents are not walking amongst the construction zone. We have completed now the 12th, 11th, 10th, and 9th floor. So we're working on the 8th and the 7th right now. Some people we've talked about the fact that this is an on-site relocation plan. That has always been the plan. And we have an on-site relocation specialist. Her name is Mia, and she's worked with some of these residents who have spoken before. That is her sole job, is to deal with resident relocation. We have professional movers that we've hired to complete these moves. We understand that there are certainly some aggravations that go on with moving throughout the building. But this is an extensive redevelopment. As someone mentioned, after consulting with the residents, we are limiting the hours of construction. We are allowed to work from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., but we only work from 8 a.m. to to 5 p.m. in order to limit that disruption. And again, you were on site today, council member, and I invite you to come more often to see the progress, and members from DHCD and DCHFA and others were there as well, to see the difference between one of the old units that had fallen into disrepair versus the newly renovated units. So you saw for yourself. Again, there are bound to be some issues that pop up during a renovation of this scale. And we have been dealing with any of those issues as they come along. And we will continue to. We work with the residents, we partner with the residents, and overwhelmingly, they're very pleased with the product that we're delivering. And but if there are concerns, we would definitely like to address those, and we welcome people to bring up any concerns, and we will address them.
Thank you. So you said there's a relocation plan. Does your relocation plan consist of moving people 2 to 3 times?
The relocation plan doesn't specify the number of times of move, but the overwhelming majority of residents are moved once to a temporary unit and then back to their renovated unit.
So it's been several people that talked about being moved more than once, and you said you're still on track. So that concerns me with that. Also, you said that the 12th, you start from top to going down, and the 12th floor is completed. But we just heard from a resident just now that say she's on the 12th floor and her floor is coming up. Are you aware of that, and what you all plan to do to address that?
Yes, so our contractors are still on site. They have not left. If there is a problem like flooring or anything else, we address it. We tell our contractor to get up there and fix it. We have identified a handful of units with some flooring issues, and we are in the process of evaluating those. But our contractor is not going to leave the building until this is done right. So those handful of units will be fixed. So
how do you manage tickets? Because I've heard also a young lady talk about her issue with putting in these tickets. Or how many tickets do you have outstanding, and what's the turnaround time on handling the tickets from residents with complaints?
I'd have to look into that. Again, it depends on the severity. Obviously, any sort of emergency situation is addressed immediately, but if you want, I can pull up some information, or if you have a specific ticket you want to discuss, I can pull that up and we can talk about it.
Okay, because one of the ladies mentioned her unit address, her door number, 12 something. If she can put that in the chat, we can get that to you.
Yeah, I took a note on that, 1227. I took a note on that, yes.
Also, there was a huge issue with the roofing. We've heard several residents complaining about when it rains, the water is running straight through their unit. The young lady who was on the call in the hallway, she was on the first floor. And so is the water still coming from inside the building? Has that been fixed?
There's nothing, the roofing was repaired a few years ago, so there's nothing coming from the roof. So I would have to know the exact unit, and if she's reporting it, then we will get in there. Our maintenance team will get in there and address it.
So is there still situations that you know of where water is coming into people's unit? And if so, if not from the roof, where is it coming from?
I'm not currently aware of it. So again, if the specific resident wants to send me an email or have a call, we can address it.
Okay. Is someone on the call that can speak to that? So I see someone on Instagram saying what?
The whole downstairs is flooded right now as we speak.
The whole downstairs is flooded right now as we speak.
Make sure it's the right place.
Anyone on the call can speak to that, because I want to get the validity of what's being alleged. So we won't be just talking and just allegations about facts. Actually, what unit?
I am.
Also, while we looking into that, who is actually doing the construction?
You're asking who the general contractor is?
Yes.
Marous Brothers Construction.
Can you spell that for me?
Marous.
And what's the cost of the complete renovation?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but I can get it to you.
Can you get it tonight? So we can, I mean, we have to know that because we're giving government funds and you all are committed to in a plan of putting money in the project as well. That's, I mean, it's not rockets. It's not hard to get that. That's talked about early on. Is in a plan and people signed it. That should be readily available.
I'm not sure if this is correct. Someone in the chat put $88 million in funding.
They're probably talking about the previous money and the current funding. Because it's not the first time the government gave this building money.
Well, the loan from the prior loan from the prior ownership that was defaulted upon and never repaid was a $3 million loan, but that was back in 2014.
Was that when you guys were there? Because I know I heard you say you were there in 2014.
No, that was when the prior ownership and prior one of the residents who spoke earlier was involved with that.
I heard you say you're on track to complete renovations. What's the completion month and year?
On or about March of next year, 2023.
How many residents do you currently have in the building? Occupied units, not residents, because it could be several people living in a unit. But
approximately 260.
Of how many units? How many units in the building?
358.
158. Now, the other units that are remaining, will those still be deemed affordable when those get remodeled and get repopulated? What's the agreement between the residents about the pricing of the units?
I can get you the exact breakdown. I can tell you that there are 20, I believe the number is 20 market rate units of the 358, and the remainder are affordable.
At what level?
It's a mixture of 30s, 50s, 60s, and 80s.
Okay. And I was trying to explain to the public, I got a question about that. They asked me, what is AMI? AMI is area median income. And the area median income in the district right now and in this region is 121,000 for a family of 4. And so at 80%, you can probably make $100,000 and qualify to live in an affordable unit. From what I'm hearing from you, and I heard you say 60. So 60 is about $70,000 a year. 50 is half of that. So just trying to get an understanding and make sure that those units that may be vacant now are able to move in people who can afford to live in them. And I know sometimes doing a funding formula with banks and financing, that has to be mixed. But I can assure you that 80% of $120,000, that should be considered market rate. Do we have any other questions?
What is the matrix processes for working complaints? You asked that.
Yeah, I asked them the points. Any other residents have any questions or comments directly for management? I see it in the comment. Now is your time to speak up. I know we
Let's
get
see our hand here. Let's see who this is.
Text messages, the emails.
Yeah, it's coming. It's flooded. Like people are talking about all
Yeah.
properties.
I'm trying to see who this has their hand up. I can't find them.
Well,
Someone
sometimes you
wants
can
to
put your hand
know
back down if you want
about
to see
this
it.
property. They want to know, is the building safe to live in during construction?
Is the building safe? That's a DCRA question. They evaluate the building and determine if it's safe or not for people to live in during construction, depending on how there's a safety plan that has to be given to the government about how they want to do that in a safe manner. And I see also he has an on-site relocation specialist he mentioned as well.
Over 107 on my. Let me go check the Facebook.
All right, so if there's no other person from the property, we will digress and take notes. I did get a chance to hear from, I did call, yes, Tyreek Knight here from OAG.
I do not see Ty here.
Also, Mr. Greenblatt, real quick, can you address the issue of the parking?
Sure. What's the issue?
One of the you were on here. You heard. I mean, you pretty much heard it. She said she's parking up car in the parking lot. She was told that she can park there, but she received several $250 tickets, and was told which was additional $170.
You have her name? I'll take down her name.
Wanda, do you have her name?
I thought that was Charlene, if I'm not mistaken. Charlene, if that was you speaking, if you could just put that in the chat, just to make sure we have the right person.
No, that was Alicia.
Alicia, okay, thank you.
Is there a unit number?
I know she said she was on the floor. First floor was relocated somewhere else in the building.
All right, I'll have a conversation with our property manager and see what's going on.
Okay. I'm just checking the chat and see if there are lots of comments, but I'm just checking to see if there are any questions.
This one has 112 people in its comments. Some involving this property, some involving other properties, but it's there's a resident said they told everybody. I was told before 9 p.m. Apartment 210. They said the water is ice cold in the building. Go back and see. Maintenance continues to have to fix work behind these contractors every day. And I did notice that. I did notice there were the materials was real. Even you look at the floor is real cheap, right? I'm not even gonna lie. Like the floor, you step on it, you can feel the space between the air and the floor when you step on the floor. I looked at one of the units, I got a chance to see the balcony, right? The materials on the balcony, if a person over 250 pounds lean on it, I'm unsure if it's going to hold their weight, to be honest. I'm concerned about that. It's not really traditional metal railing or hardwood railing that you see in a high-rise building. It's more so painted plastic. And I'm concerned about that. It seemed like the cost was cut by cutting down on the materials. Look at the door frames. It's the same original closet and door frames with just new handles on the doors. And yeah, I see the kitchen has been remodeled as well, but it's looked like more cosmetic than actual new material, especially on the floor. The floor is really, really cheap. I'm not sure what that is on the floor.
Mr. Green, but did you want to address that?
Also, it's mold throughout the building, on the baseboards, in the hallways. There's a number of floors in which lights is out completely on certain sides of the hallway, which is also a safety concern. Can you address that for us, please?
Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned, I guess, the interiors of the units. So again, you were on site earlier today, so hopefully you saw, well, there is new flooring, and again, we are addressing a few units, but it is brand new flooring. And if you compare it to what was in a prior unit, hopefully you saw one of the prior units. Hopefully you had enough time to stick around and see one of those and see the difference between that. But there are new appliances in the kitchen, new cabinets. So I don't know if you're talking about an old unit, but there are certainly several upgrades in the units. So I would invite you to come back and take a look. We can go around maybe with a smaller group and our construction manager, and you can really take a close look and see, so that we can get to the bottom of this.
We definitely can set that up. There's an ongoing concern about the rodents in the building. What are you guys doing to remediate the rodents in the building?
Anyone who has a concern, we have a contract with an exterminator, and they come out on a weekly basis. And if you report it in your unit, then we will address it at that point. But there are certain issues, specifically on the unrenovated floors, as it relates to trash disposal on the lower floors. We've got trash rooms and the trash chutes. So it's imperative that everyone works together to make sure that those are used properly. But again, we hire a third-party professional to come in and address those whenever a resident voices a concern. Again, these are things that need to be reported to the management office. That's the best way to take care of it. You can get yourself registered and on the list for the next round if you're having an issue. So please go to the management office or talk to me, and I'll make sure that you're on the list.
How can people reach you and or management? Can you leave that information in the chat?
Sure.
Councilmember, there's a question in the chat about, we were supposed to be moved out. Can someone address that? Was that a part of the original agreement that the residents would be moved out during this construction period?
No, that was not. Again, this plan was vetted with the residents, with DHCD, with DCHFA, and with HUD, and with our investors. So I'm not, quite honestly, I'm not sure what original agreement some individuals have referred to, because I'm very familiar with the agreements that we've entered into. And again, they've been approved by all the agencies that are taking part in this project.
Got it. I see you put your email in there, aaron@vestacorp.com, AARON@vestacorp.com. And are you on the site daily? Who's on the site daily from your office?
Well, we have an on-site management team, a full team. And we have our relocation specialist. We have regional staff, compliance team that pops in as needed. And we have our construction manager who is there at least on a month. You met her today, Councilman. Sarah, she's on site at least every month for a couple days, but sometimes more regularly than that.
Got it. And then I know that, I do want to recognize for the public that the DC Office of the Attorney General was there meeting with tenants, I guess a few days ago as well. And so we will be following back up with email, and be doing visits again, also with DCRA, to ensure that there's oversight in this project for tenants who do have concerns or afraid to speak up. Because I do know when I talked to Ms. Scott and also Ms. Horn, that residents were afraid to speak up for various issues they're having with their unit because they don't want to be retaliated against. And so we will be back on site. And I'm not an inspector. A lot of people say, Mr. White, why don't you come to my house when you need to see my unit? And I can come and see your unit. That's fine. But sometimes I don't even know what I'm looking at or how to fix it, or where's deriving from, what's going on behind the wall, what's the structure of the building. So me coming there is good because of my position, but we need some people, real experts there to evaluate what's going on and what it takes to get to a solution and or fine from the property. So, and I see other people in the chat talking about their issues with other properties. You can email me at twhite@dccouncil.us. Also Wendy Glenn at Glenn with 2 N's, GLENN @dccouncil.us. If we don't have any other questions or concerns from residents or tenants, we want to thank everyone who participated, especially our government witnesses. I know most of you all are off work at this moment, but in our office, we work 24/7. And so we want to continue to hammer at this to make sure we are in the conversation. holding everyone accountable, including myself as a leader of this community when it comes to these properties. I don't do inspections. I'm not on the executive side of the government, but I do get a lot of the DMs and Instagram messages and calls as relates to these properties that are falling apart where residents are crumbling inside. We heard about the young lady who said she put the blinds up and fell on her son, or like the sibling that fell in the bathroom and fell on somebody. And so we will stay on this. We are committed to getting the same love, care, and equity as we see going on throughout the district here in Ward 8. And so my name is Treyon White, and the council member of the Great Ward 8. And this is a community conversation about 800 Southern Avenue, also known as Park Southern. If you desire to reach me, our office number is 202-724-8045. We are working remotely, and so we'll be directed to one of my staff's number. Also, you can reach me again at on email at twhite@dccouncil.us. We look forward to following up with this property within the next 2 weeks. Thank you.